It's been a while since I've posted here on my second account, Rational Boomer 2. A couple of reasons for that. On my first account, Rational Boomer, I talk about a lot of politics and government and what's happening today. And it's been absolutely batshit crazy. I've been buried with all the things we've got to talk about on that side of things. The second, more importantly, maybe more descriptive, I tend to be a lazy bastard. Now, I'm going to try to not be a lazy bastard and start posting more here again as I'd initially planned. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a story today that is a personal story and has kind of a political message or political bent in the end. So anyway, the year is 1989. I'm 29 years old. My wife and I have been married about 6 years, 5 years, something like that. And we have a 2-year-old son. Our first son was born. And to say we were struggling and had no money would be an understatement. It was fucking hard. That's why I never want to go back to my youth, because I don't want to deal with the shit I had to deal with back then. Anyway, here we are. We're working our minimal jobs at the time and making no money, having a lot of expenses. And I've always had this thing with me. I've always been very self-aware of my body. If something was ever wrong, I would know it almost instantly. If something was just off, it's a weird thing, but it's something I've always had. And one day as I'm taking a shower, I noticed something out of the norm. I noticed a little lump on my testicle. Sorry for saying it, but that's true. And I didn't think much about it at first, but as I started thinking about it, and I started seemingly getting messages. Now you have to understand, this is 89. There's no internet, there's no Google or anything like this. So I feel this bump. I don't feel any pain. I don't feel sick or anything like that. And I'm not sure what I'm dealing with there. And then out of nowhere, again, no internet, I saw a news story. I saw a newspaper story about testicular cancer. Oh, fuck, I never even heard of that. Maybe I've got that. And then I started to get very intent about this. And then a friend of mine tells me about another friend of his who had testicular cancer and the bullshit he went through. Okay, now I'm kind of freaking out. I'm kind of freaking out because in my mind, I have testicular cancer. So I do some investigations, back then you go check out the Encyclopedia Britannica or whatever the fuck you do, and I'm looking into this. And I'm very nervous about it because I'm thinking to myself, if I have cancer and I die, my son's 2 years old, he'll never remember me. I'll leave my wife in the lurch because she has no money, I have no money. It'd be completely fucked. So I'm nervous about that. And the first thing I think is, fuck, I better get to the doctor. But hold on a minute. I just started a new job, a job that would end up being my career for about 27 years. And I would get health care with this job, good health care, by the way, but it wasn't going to kick in for another 60 days. So I have a quandary. What do? Do I go in because I'm nervous about having cancer, that I think I have cancer, and end up costing my family tons of money because I can't get it checked now? If I go to the hospital after I get the health care, they're going to say it was pre-existing, that I'm fucked. It's absolutely going to destroy my family financially, depending on what happens there. Now, I could be wrong, but I felt very confident that I was right because I checked everything. I looked at every possible option, and it seemed to be the case. So anyway, I make the decision I'm going to, for the next 60 days, not say a fucking word. Because if I tell my mom, I tell my wife, I tell my mother-in-law, they're going to make me go to the hospital, and it's going to destroy us financially. Even if it's not a big deal. We couldn't afford a $10,000 fucking bill. We didn't have any money. So I kept my mouth shut. And it was very tough for a long period of time. I'm good at holding back my emotions and not letting things get to me and compartmentalizing things. But it got a little scary because, I'm a young man and I'm thinking about my kid. I'm thinking about my wife. I'm thinking about all these things. And I know I can't go to the doctor yet because it would just destroy the family's finances. So for 60 days, I do this, and I'm holding it in pretty good. But I start getting these sensations. Every time I get a little sick, a little nauseous, I'm going, oh my God, it's the fucking cancer. One day I'm at work and I feel very dizzy and I feel very sick. And I go, oh my God, this is it. I've waited too long. I'm done. Later, I found out that they were painting the railings in that building with oil-based paint, and that apparently did it to me. So anyway, I get through the 60 days, kind of living through hell in my mind. I'm thinking about all these things all the fucking time. So I get to the 60 days. I now have health care. And then I go to my wife. I say, honey, listen, I don't want you to freak out, but I'm pretty positive I have testicular cancer. And she didn't know what it was any more than I do. And she says, please. She thought I was just being hysterical, being paranoid, being a baby, whatever. She goes, you don't have testicular cancer. I go, no, I think I do. I've looked into this for a long time. She said, go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor. I sit down, and the doctor says, so what's up? I said, doctor, I think I have testicular cancer. And he looked at me and he kind of smiled and he goes, how the hell would you even know that? Why would you believe you have testicular cancer? I would say the odds are that you don't have testicular cancer. So anyway, he says, but I'll check you out. And he checks me out. He goes, there is something there. It's very, very small. I don't even know how the fuck you found this. But we have to do a biopsy. I go, do a biopsy? What the hell? And he goes, well, you don't understand what the biopsy is. You have to have a surgery called an orchiectomy. I go, well, whatever. He said, we have to remove your testicle to do a biopsy. I go, whoa, wait a fucking minute. Seriously? Because we want to have more kids, and I'm afraid it's going to affect that. So anyway, I'm thinking to myself, well, I may have a risk of maybe not having another kid, but I could die. So maybe we better have the surgery. So we have the surgery. But before we have the surgery, the doctor announces to my wife he has testicular cancer. And she freaks out. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I knew this. I knew this all along. I prepared myself for fucking 60 days. So we have the surgery. They do the biopsy. Now I got to wait a week before I hear what the biopsy is. And I said, what are the options here? He said, well, there's 4 things that could happen. We could do the biopsy. We don't need to do anything more. Or we do the biopsy and you need radiation for 4 or 5 weeks. Or we need to do the biopsy and you have to have chemotherapy. You don't want that. And I said, what's the 4th one? He said, well, the 4th one, you might need chemotherapy and radiation. You definitely don't want that one. Well, eventually I found out that what I needed was about 4 or 5 weeks of radiation, which sucked in its own right. So I had the radiation. I got checked every year for the next 5 years, and it never came back. My point of this story is this. I'm a young man trying to start a new family. I have to think twice about whether to get checked for something that may be very serious because I'm afraid it's going to financially ruin me. That shit should not happen in this country. When they say that health care should be a right in this country, they're absolutely correct. Now, I have health care, and after that, I did have health care, and I'm fine. But I think about those young kids that might be in my situation who can't afford health care and something tragic or scary happens to them. The fuck kind of country do we live in where we don't take care of our own? Isn't that the first job of government, is to protect its citizens? I'm not talking just about military attacks. I'm talking about the thing that takes most people's lives. And that's poor health, that's disease. But we got fucks out there that want to cancel vaccines and not help people out when they need it the most.